We calling you a radical. Kevin Blanche. I'm here in PB with Rachel. By the way, she's a PB girl, and she was in Fukushima, Japan, and she was a big-time activist over there after Fukushima with her children, her Japanese husband. She had to flee and come home. She was the activist in Japan. Data and I mean, so go ahead and tell your story, Rachel. And
okay, well, I'm really glad to have this opportunity because a lot of my data that I got, I did not publish it. I have not published it yet, and so this is an opportunity for me to get it out finally. I do have videos with me taking dirt samples in different spots. My focus was the schools, the Yokosuka and Tsushi and Yokohama city schools, and just hot spots around town. So I would take my kids to school and walk them to school, and along the way we would just with my Geiger counters I'd be taking samples and or readings, and then somebody turned me on to a lab, and I started taking dirt samples and sending those off to the lab. So here I've got a bunch of data from dirt samples that I've taken, and
now make sure we let them know that you were there when it happened.
Yeah.
Tell a little bit of your story of when it happened.
Okay.
Where you were at.
So I was on Yokosuka base, which is a United States naval base there in Japan, and I lived in Yokosuka there. My husband's Japanese. I ended up in Japan because my dad's in the Navy, and we got stationed over there. So after living there for a few years, I got a degree in Japanese studies, and I met my husband, and we got married and have 3 daughters. So we were living there. We own our house free and clear, own our car, going to church, everything, good job. I was teaching English, making like 25 bucks an hour. It was good for a housewife. I had my own classes, mommy and me classes, with the moms and the babies. So I was really connected with the community there. I also worked for the Mura City Elementary School District at the elementary schools there. So I had a lot of contacts with the school district there. And yeah, when the earthquake happened, my kids were at school, and it was just about time for them to go home, and the 9.0 earthquake hit. I was on the base, and I was not near, I was probably about 15 minutes from them, 15-minute drive, and I mean, I could give you a lot of details about, the 9.0 earthquake, and you feel like you just want to like hug the ground. Somehow, if you could just hug the ground, that's all I wanted to do. But I wanted to get to my kids, and my car was in this parking structure there, and the people wouldn't let me go into the parking structure to get my car, and so I couldn't leave to go get my kids. And so I just went and just drove out of the parking structure as fast as I could, drove off the base. I got off the base, and it was like all the lights were out, the supermarkets, everything. People were all outside because we were getting aftershocks, like 7.0 aftershocks. And then the sirens were going, go to higher ground, get to 5th floor or higher. And I was like, on the Navy base, so I live like maybe up that hill distance from the water, so pretty close to the ocean. And to get home or to my kids, I had to drive down that long stretch there. And I knew that there was probably going to be a tsunami because when we were on the base, the carrier that was there the water had dropped enough that the walkway from the pier to the ship broke, and so it was just like a loud noise. I don't know if it broke or what, if it fell, but the ship moved down because the water was being sucked out. And so I really had this like urgency to get home, to get to my kids. So I get to their school, and they're nowhere to be found. There's no kids at the school anymore. And the principal and the teachers out there, and they said they sent the kids home, like in a group to walk home. So I like get home, and I get there, and there's nobody home. I've got 3 little girls. They were 6th grade, 4th grade, and kindergarten. The kindergartner I knew she was with a friend, that we had a play date set up, so I knew that she had gone home with her. And my oldest and my middle one was supposed to go to her tennis practice with her grandmother. I didn't know she wasn't with her. And so I was just going back and forth between the school and telling them, you know what, my kids are not home. They're not even on the walkway. They're not anywhere to be found. And meanwhile, still the sirens are going. And I finally just started asking people on the street, like, do you know have you seen any kids? You know, I'm gaijin, I'm a foreigner, so like I stand out in the community. And some random lady said, yeah, I saw your daughter by the train station, my fourth grader, by the train station when the earthquake hit. But after that, I don't know what happened to her after that. And so then I was like, crap, so she's not with my mother-in-law. And then I'm sorry, is this too long?
No, you're fine.
And so I just ended up, long story short, I ended up just knocking on doors. Oh, somebody had said that they thought that they saw my kids go with so-and-so's mom. And I was like, who's that, you know? And they didn't know where she lived, and so I just started knocking on doors and praying to God that He would lead me to the door, because, you know, and the cell phones didn't work. Nothing worked. All the lights were out. The cell phones didn't work.
And you knew a tsunami was coming.
And I knew the tsunami was coming. And the sirens were going that the tsunami was coming. I was saying that the tsunami was coming, you know, to get to higher ground. And I couldn't find them. And it was just really scary at that time. And I found, you know, I knocked on this door, and this lady opened the door, and she saw me. So she recognized me, but I didn't recognize her. And like I said, I stand out. And so she got my kids, and both of them came out of that house, and I was like, oh, thank God. Like,
so you went to higher ground.
Yeah. Well, from there, I had to go closer to the ocean to go pick up my kindergartner. That was at the play date at this lady's house. That I didn't know which apartment she was in, but they lived right on the beach. And this lady had like 4 or 5 of the kindergartners there, and so same kind of thing. I had to just, you know, go in there and just start asking people where Tanaka-san lives. And they, you know, they told me where she was. I got my youngest, my 5-year-old, and we got in the car. And then I had like this feeling. I had an English class that I was supposed to be at, and I was afraid that the kids were on their bikes going to, because already people were acting like nothing was really going to happen.
Yeah.
You know, and so I get to my English class to tell them it's canceled. Go, you know, take care. Of course, all of them were there. They're so loyal, you know, and that's like really close to the beach too, and from there, I get in my car and I'm going to go to higher ground. But by that time, there's tons of traffic, and there's only like one main road in and out of there, because we were on a peninsula. And on the other side of Chiba, if anybody knows where Tokyo Disneyland is, on the other side of that peninsula. And in my minivan, there's like a TV screen, so when you step on the brakes, the TV pops up and we can see the news. And we're right along the ocean, you know, the road that's closest to the ocean, and that was the only way in or out. And then, except for like side roads that I knew of, but there was like a divider in the middle. And when I stepped on that brake in that traffic, and we saw the tsunami taking over, this was already like 4 o'clock, I think. But that I had all my kids and did all that. My daughter was like, Mommy, just go. Oh, we were supposed to go. I wanted to let my mother-in-law know that I had my daughter. I later found out my mother-in-law was stuck on that train to meet my daughter. She was supposed to pick her up. She was stuck on that train on like this bridge for about 2 hours. They had to climb out of the train and walk along the bridge to get, because they couldn't turn the train system back on. And so my oldest daughter, she's like, Mommy, just go. And so I just, you know, tried to get out of the traffic, drove over the center divider, the bushes, drove right through the bushes, and just started driving up, you know, the side roads to the top of the hills. My parents were there, and I got there. Couldn't get in touch with my husband. My husband painted buildings, and I stopped by this girl's house, one of the other wives of the painters, and she had some contact, and she didn't know if they were all right or not, but because that was before the tsunami, just after the earthquake, she had some contact. They were okay. So up till then, they were okay, but they were working near the ocean also. Turns out my husband was on like the 9th floor on some scaffolding when the earthquake hit, and he was just like climbing down as fast as he could. He's like, I was like,
so where were you guys at when the tsunami hit?
Yeah, we were in the car, right by the ocean.
You were in the car when the tsunami hit.
Yeah, I don't think I even had my kids yet when the tsunami hit. I was seeing footage.
So you're lucky it didn't pull you out.
Yeah, so I mean, that could have been, I mean, the emotion of knowing that our town didn't get hit by the tsunami. And watching the other towns, but our town was having the tsunami warning just as much as everybody else was in that area. And the other side of the peninsula got hit, but our side didn't.
So after you became the activist
yeah,
and the cover up, and you tell me what you told me walking down here, how the cover up, she grew up here in PB. She's a PB elementary girl,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah, so just after that, there was the first explosion, and then we were supposed to leave. My whole family was supposed to leave. And my husband went to work and decided that, you know what, they're going to stay and work. And I said, you know, can I leave? And so I was supposed to drive, but there was no more gas anywhere, so I couldn't get out of there. So we evacuated to Okinawa on a ferry. Just my kids, the 3 girls and me, and my husband stayed back to work to keep the country going or whatever. And then, you know, we had no idea where we were going either. Some of our friends had gone there, and we were going to meet up with them. They were staying in some shop because they had left. So my friend, a lot of my friends own bars, and one of them is friends with another bar owner who has a customer that worked inside the Fukushima power plant.
Oh, wow.
And she gave us like kind of a tip, like a heads up to get out. She was leaving to France. She was going to France. She was taking her family out.
She told you.
Yeah, and not only that, I went to church with, it was an off-base church, but they were all military. It was a church serving the military. And a lot of the guys that worked on the nuclear ships, I mean, they have those things going off. The wives were telling me. I have one friend, I can't talk about her much, but she told me, and she evacuated. Her husband got her out of there. He said if they're after the first explosion, if they're gonna be, or it was before the first explosion, if they're pouring salt water, you better get you out. And they got her. Her and the daughter got out.
Let me tell you this real quick. So I'm flying back and forth rehabbing for my cancer right here. I'm on the plane to San Diego, and I'm with a bunch of this military personnel, and this woman has this Japanese plaque, and she's a Marine. So I start talking to her, and I says, Okinawa? Yeah. And I says, well, Fukushima, you know, this is in 2013, right? The first trip I came down here when we had the San Onofre. By the way, we're shooting this on the 5th anniversary of the shutdown of the announcement of the shutdown of San Onofre and the death of Bobby Kennedy, 50 years right now. So she's got this plaque, and she's probably 10 years younger than me. I'm 58, Mrs. Ben, so she was probably 43. And I says, well, you got to know about Fukushima. She says, well, I'm head of the Marine Intel. Then we started talking about my father, Pendleton, blah, blah, in the conversation. She says, don't ever repeat, I told you any of this. And I says, well, you guys all know, right? She says, oh, yeah. And I says, how bad is the water in the Pacific Ocean? Then we started talking about the USS Reagan. Of course, that's here. And Rachel actually witnessed the scrub down. And she's like, it's bad, really bad. And I says, they're covering up the readings, right? She's absolutely, they're 100% covering up. So go ahead.
Yeah, so they, you know, I had ways of knowing that it wasn't what everybody was saying it was. On base, they had handed out iodine pills. Off base, I was not connected to the base other than my parents, but they're veterans. But so we didn't get any iodine pills, nothing. Turns out later there was a warehouse full of them. They didn't want to hand them out because they didn't want people to panic. But so I get a call at 6 in the morning. My friends had been calling me all night, and they're telling me, you know, we're in Okinawa, Rachel. You got to get out of there. You got to get out of there now. And that's how I heard the whole story of, you know, they got that tip.
And then she says that she'd follow along with my videos. And, you know, Kathy Iwan's story, same thing there. I was the only one reporting this, and so they were the only ones getting anything.
Yeah.
And so
and this was like a couple days after the.
Because I started going crazy about it the day it happened, and so I've been told this story by numerous people now.
It was the only information we had. It was the only, especially in Japan. I don't know if you remember Alex, the French guy, Alex.
Yeah.
He was another really good one that really helped me a lot. I mean, just to relieve stress. Yeah. So, you know, we get to Okinawa. My friends decide that everything's fine and they're gonna go back. And I just got there, and I had nowhere to stay. Well, my mom had given me a card to a pastor that had a church there that was looking for volunteers to help. And so I called him up. He came pick me up. They were so good to me. They let us live in the church for 3 weeks. We lived there in Okinawa. His wife let me use her car. I had a cousin that was stationed there in the Marines. He took me on base to get groceries and stuff. It was
so you knew that the cover-up was going on, so you became the actor. So she started gathering soil samples and taking them to labs. So let's talk about that and show some of these samples.
Okay. Yeah.
This is the first time they've ever been put in the internet.
Now, I didn't get my first Geiger counter until October. It was my birthday present from my friends.
That's when I got cancer. I got cancer October 13th.
That was the and I got my first Geiger counter, and I started taking readings, and before that I had borrowed a Geiger counter from somebody, and I took readings, and I posted a video. That was my first video. If you want to see it, it's I think it's called Mom in Japan. I was testing the dirt.
I'll link the video to this video.
And that one I was just testing the dirt in the sandbox and around the school. And that's where my passion really began, I ended up getting that particular school's sandbox for the kindergartners. That got cleaned out. They took out all the dirt, of course, scoffing at me during the whole time. But it was just me and the principal out there shoveling the sand out. And then later on they found out that I have another video that shows that once the city started testing, they started finding the hot spots that I was finding. And I took so many hot spots to the city and told them to come and check it and stuff, and showing them my readings. They accused me that I didn't know how to handle that.
What they always do.
And then I found a hot spot in my front yard, like right on the city line of my yard, and
now, how far away from Fukushima was you living?
About 150 miles.
So this is important. This is
really
important. Now hear me. So Fukushima, Japan's right there. We're what, 6,000 miles away. So the wind was blowing out for the first 6 days. Okay, Sanjay Gupta and Anderson Cooper were there with this Jim Waltz reporting live on the spot. Then the wind shifted in after 6 days. That's when they were pushing the water. So the whole bullshit that it didn't contaminate Japan is total bullshit. Of course, then they just made the decision to push it into the Pacific Ocean, which they pushed in the entire time and killed the tide pools are dead right here in PB. This is one of the most famous tide pools there are right here on PB Pool. You've seen my videos, they're dead. So go ahead and let's show these samples.
Okay, so I got a lot of stuff to share, so I'm just going to start off with, this is from the city school district, the Yokosuka City School. So they had this all like planned out that they were going to test. Once we started finding hot spots, some of the parents and me and in the town, then we got them to start checking. And
look at the date.
Nice. Okay, so this is when they started checking, and so this is some of their data. So this is up
their elementary school.
Yeah, you have elementary schools, and they check they don't put it right down on the ground. They check from like 50 centimeters high and a meter high, and then the surface they don't even put it down on the ground right there either.
So that's their data.
Yeah, and this is how they then they write it all in, in one of these forms. And so I would go.
We'll do a lot of these videos. I'm going to be here for a while.
Yeah, I would go, and I knew my friends would hook me up and tell me the different schools and stuff to go to, and I was going to all the meetings. So that's what my own little notes. Meetings. This is really important. I want to spend some time on this later.
Okay.
This is their equation as to how they came up with the city limit. So I have another video on me fighting with them about the lady in the office, the secretary in the office came up with the city limit with this mathematical equation that makes no sense. Okay. So, and then this is another thing that's really important. I want to just show you guys real quick. So in Yokosuka, because they have the nuclear ships there, they have testing points because everybody's against the nuclear ships being there. In fact, I've got this little thing. Let me show you this little thing that I have here. This is a handout you could get in the city office. They're telling you about how bad radiation is before Fukushima. This is before. Look at. We're showing the Navy ships,
Wow, nice.
Yeah,
Great.
and then so important. This you can only let's decipher it. This is the coordinates, okay? They take they took the samples. This is the government data, okay? And if you want to look at the date here, so these are exact same coordinates, okay? And the dates over here, this is year, month, day. So that's 2011, August 18th. This one down here is 2010, August 16th, okay? So they do this every year in the same spot. Well, let's look at the cesium. The difference in the cesium, we maybe want to show the one on the bottom first. This is before Fukushima. You can see the 137, you know, like whatever testings or whatever going on, who knows. And then 134 is nothing, okay? And did they have iodine there? No, they don't have the iodine. So then up here
is the cesium 137, 134, same reading.
Yep, after Fukushima.
After Fukushima.
And they're trying to
now
tell
this
us
is 150 miles away from the plant.
Yep.
Wow.
Okay.
Keep going.
This is becquerels.
Yes.
Okay. So, you know, this is our group. We put out these, my friend actually designed this, and a lot of information just for parents to know. Version 1, version 2. Just some stuff, how to take dirt samples. Information.
So you were really all over this.
Yep. So this is really what
very important story.
my house. So the city limit is 0.59 microsieverts. Okay, and that's with that equation I have to tell you, which is so stupid. I'll tell you about it, how they figured it out. It makes no sense. So I found a spot right in front of my house that was 0.7 microsieverts. Okay, and so that's when I got approached by one of the head guys in the Communist Party who was helping all the moms and stuff. And this other lady, I didn't know he was part of the Communist Party at the time. I did not know. But he ended up being a really good friend and somebody that was really helping.
They did a lot of good work in the early days of Fukushima.
Yeah.
From what I hear.
Yeah. And he was a school teacher. He was a junior high school teacher, retired. And so he said, why don't you send it off to this lab? He hooked me up with this lab that would take it. And sure enough, the 0.7 microsieverts had 5,757.5 becquerels in my front yard. Now let me tell you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Giant number.
Yeah, that's my front yard, and they're trying to say like, oh, it's 0.7, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah. Just like a nuclear accident, it's only a 7 when the maximum is a 7.
Yeah, I like when Alex says, well, that's 3 reactors. It's like a 21, level 21. I love
Blackjack.
But so.
Laugh or cry, right?
Yeah. So this is what really got me into action. I was before just doing the Geiger counter, and this is what I started being more active. We started a group called No No Hoshano. Hoshano is radiation, and so it was like No No Hoshano. It was, and then they wanted us to change the name because No No was too strong.
Are you sure they didn't live in California?
Yeah, I was the one that came up with that.
Don't raise your voice. Bobby Kennedy died just here in a couple hours 50 years ago. You think about how fierce he was. So I mean, it sounds like the whole softening of the activist community is, I mean, which I don't, you know me, I don't go that way because I remember when we used to win.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, they got scared. I mean, I would have my Geiger counters at the schools and with the moms that were in my group, and they would get freaked out and be like, put that away, and I'm like, why?
No different down here. No different down here.
Yeah.
It was the same thing here.
Yeah.
You know?
Really frustrating and heartbreaking, but still, I mean,
real quickly, I want to talk about the State Secrets Act. So I used to get, and she can verify this, Kathy A1, everybody can verify it. So many people that move home, like Kevin Blanche, without you, we had nothing, everything. So everybody in Japan, so I would literally, and I'm dying of leukemia at the time. I'm in the bone marrow transplant at LDS, going in and out of a coma. What timing, huh? Given a death sentence with leukemia. And so I'm getting literally hundreds, if not thousands, of emails out of Japan. The head of the Fukushima's mother emailed me and told me he was going to die 2 weeks ago. He says, go ahead and post it, blah, blah, blah. Which I was announcing everything to the world because I was the one getting it, because I was the only one reporting it. Then all of a sudden, 12/12/12, when they had the hearings, and Mikado translated for me inside Japan, I listened to the whole thing. When they wanted him in jail, there was litigation, and that was the answer. And that was Obama, that was Gregory Jacko, the whole freaking MIT crowd, Lisa Jackson, freaking Gina McCarthy, the whole clan. That's when they threw down the hammer and invented the Safe Secrets Act. I used to do a radio show inside of Tokyo twice a week with a freelancer from SoCal and another professor inside Japan. They threw us down, and his daughter, I haven't talked to her in 2 years, said he's been missing for 3 years. They came to the house and got him. Yeah. And she could verify how dangerous it is.
Yeah, I know that they were watching me. Several people told me that I should leave Japan, and I already kind of wanted to, but I didn't want to leave the fight. I didn't want to leave my friends and their kids,
but you didn't want to get killed either, or put in jail. You got children.
And my husband was scared, and my husband thought I was crazy because, you know,
he's Japanese, right?
He's Japanese, so he was you know, watching TV and saw the billboards and all of that. You know, I could escape that because I'm not fluent, and I didn't really watch TV. And
by the way, so when I'm in Vienna, a lot of the anti-nuclear activists are hiding there because Putin's killing them. They're hiding in Vienna. I was with Freedom Eisler with them. I saw bootleg videos of activists who snuck in there that were underneath there. I've seen stuff, and they won't put it on the internet. They're hiding. Yeah. They're Russian activists. They're Austrian activists. They're from all over. They're fantastic. Japanese. They're all hiding there, and I saw the videos, so I know. I mean, stuff been leaked to me that I couldn't put in the internet if I wanted. I'd be killed. I have the transcript of the Situation Room. I'd go to prison if I posted it. So we know. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, so it was really hard because I had to shut up all the time. It was like the freaking Twilight Zone. That's what I felt like. I was like, our first No Hosha No meeting, we all went around and introduced ourselves, and I just stood up and I was like, doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Like all the ladies just started cracking up. But this is what was weird. We had one scientist guy there that was with the Japanese military, and we all trusted him. And later came to find out he was put there in our group, like he was giving us answers. You know,
plant,
like, yeah, like to just shut us up, just to shut us up.
That's how they play.
He helped us. It seemed like he helped us. Like we had like little take your kids out.
We call that false equivalency in the anti-nuclear world.
Man, that was a hard.
Now let me cut this off, and we're going to start another one because this will only load up to 30 minutes, and then we'll just part 2. Stay with us. We'll do plenty of these.